Bucky the bear has awoken from hibernation, and officials at the British Wildlife Park he calls home say the 3-year-old animal is doing exceptionally well. That's remarkable because Bucky is the first brown bear ever to have undergone brain surgery, and timing was everything. Bucky had hydrocephalus, excess fluid buildup in his brain. It gave him seizures, and workers at Wildwood Trust believed they needed to operate on him before he went into hibernation because if he'd had brain trouble at that time, caretakers were concerned they wouldn't be able to medicate him properly. So last October, a specialist veterinary surgeon inserted a stent between Bucky's brain and his abdomen, which can help drain the excess fluid. And when he woke up recently from hibernation, all the signs were very good ones. Officials caution it's still early yet. They can't say for sure Bucky's made a full recovery, but so far, he's looking happy and healthy. Welcome to this St. Patrick's Day edition of The World from A to Z. We have a report on the history of the holiday coming up later in today's show. I'm Carl Azuz, thankful to be your host. Over the weekend, the United States launched a series of airstrikes in the Middle Eastern nation of Yemen. They were targeting the Houthi rebel group, which has been fighting for control of Yemen for years and took over its capital in 2014. Why did the U.S. attack the Houthis? It has to do with international shipping. The Houthis are supported by Iran, and like Iran, they're an enemy of Israel. After that country's latest war in Gaza began in 2023, the Houthi rebels started attacking military and commercial ships in the Red Sea. They said they were targeting vessels tied to Israel as a way to oppose that country in its war. But global analysts say the Houthis have attacked some ships that have no ties to Israel. The U.S. Navy has several warships in the Red Sea to protect shipping in the region. Over the past 18 months, the U.S. government says the Houthis have targeted the American Navy 174 times and commercial ships 145 times. President Donald Trump said until these attacks stop, the U.S. would use, quote, overwhelming lethal force against the Houthis. And they say more than 30 people were killed and 100 injured in the American attacks over the weekend. The Houthis also said they'd hit back at the U.S. and, quote, meet escalation with escalation. How effective that will be and how long the back-and-forth assaults will last remains to be seen. As much as 15% of the global shipping trade passed through the Red Sea before the Houthi attacks began. Companies that don't want to take the risk have to take a much longer path around South Africa. Another subject we're looking at is the violent weather that struck the U.S. over the past few days. Though meteorologists say it's not unusual to see tornadoes in the spring when cold fronts run into warmer masses of air, the system that ripped through parts of the country over the weekend claimed at least 35 lives and left significant destruction in several states.
This massive tornado caught on camera in Taylorsville, Mississippi, part of a violent outbreak of storms tearing through the Midwest and South this weekend, carving out a path of destruction.
This is really devastating.
In Missouri, at least a dozen people have been killed. Tornadoes shredding buildings and homes in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. An entire roof landing on this car. The fierce winds toppling trees and power lines.
Over 27 counties were affected significantly, kind of an Armageddon situation for emergency response.
The tornadoes also tearing through parts of Arkansas, the roof collapsing in on this home in Jackson County. This trailer blown over in Greene County.
I had my daughter in the house with me, and I had to put her in the closet and just make sure everybody in the house was safe. That was my main goal.
Out of all the years I've lived here, nothing like this has ever happened. It's just astronomical.
The powerful storms pummeling parts of the South Saturday night. In Alabama, this school bus blown into a high school. The entire roof of this structure gone. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
March 17th marks the date of one event concerning St. Patrick. His birthday, his arrival in Ireland, his banishment of snakes, his date of death. Marked as a feast day in several Christian denominations, March 17th, 461 is believed to have been the date St. Patrick died.
It's March 17th, and for a lot of us, that means wear green or get pitch. And maybe it also means corned beef and cabbage after a St. Patrick's Day parade. St. Patrick is credited with helping bring Christianity to Ireland in the 5th century. In the 16 and 1700s, Scotch-Irish immigrants poured into America for many of the same reasons people came from England: freedom from persecution. Mostly Protestants, they brought with them a rich Presbyterian culture. Boston claims to have held America's first ever St. Patrick's Day celebration in 1737. A group of 24 Irish Presbyterians formed the Charitable Irish Society. It's the oldest Irish organization in the United States, and it's been holding a St. Patrick's Day dinner every year since. Recently, we learned that the first ever St. Patty's Day parade was held back in 1601 in Florida. It was organized for that Spanish colony by its Irish priests that lived there. Ireland experienced a time of starvation in the 1840s. Irish, fleeing what was known as the Potato Famine, traveled to America. This wave of immigrants was mostly Catholics. With them, they brought tales of their patron saint. Some of the stories were true, and some were legend. For example, it was said that St. Patrick had banished snakes from Ireland. Colorful, but actually Ireland didn't have snakes in the first place. For Irish Americans in a faraway land, St. Patrick's Day became a reminder of their homeland. And even today, it's a meaningful connection to their ancestry.
On this date in world history. Another event that took place on March 17th concerns the European nation of Italy. This was the date in 1861 when it was proclaimed as a kingdom, though it wasn't unified as one until 10 years later. The nation's government later became a parliamentary republic. This was also a historic date for South Africa. On March 17th, 1992, more than 2/3 of white South Africans voted to end apartheid, a policy of separating people by race in the country. Even though whites were in the minority, apartheid favored them and oppressed black South Africans and other groups. It had been in place since 1948, but growing pressure from inside and outside the country ultimately brought apartheid to an end after 4.5 decades.
History isn't only in textbooks, it's all around you. At Educational Travel Adventures, we take students beyond the classroom and out into the world. Your adventure starts here.
We're welcoming a school in the south central part of India this Monday. It's National Model Senior Secondary School. It's in the city of Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu, and it's where Miss Deepak Raj's class is watching. Great to see you. On the western coast of the United States, we're excited to see Mr. Gunderson's class. Lakeside Middle School is in the city of Norwalk, California, the Golden State. And from the Keystone State of Pennsylvania, big hello to Fort LaBeouf High School, where Mrs. Canfield's class is online. The Bison roam the borough of Waterford.
An ambitious global effort to discover new marine life is paying off big time, shedding light on more than 800 newly documented species, including one guitar-shaped shark headlining the bill. A 10-year mission called the Ocean Census has been underway since 2023, and its first major update on 10 expeditions spanning the globe with divers, piloted submersibles, and remote vehicles announced 866 discovered species deemed brand new to science, including a deep-sea limpet, a venomous gastropod, and a teeny-tiny pipe horse. But it's this newly found species of guitar shark that stole the show, so named for its, well, shape of a guitar. Found off Mozambique and Tanzania, the discovery of this threatened species was music to explorers' ears.
What in the world?
Y'all, I could say you collectively, you all, you guys, or yous guys, but I love y'all. And though an opinion columnist for the New York Times wrote that the word y'all was too slangy or regional to, quote, ever gain universal acceptance, y'all just won Dictionary.com's 2025 Spring Slang Showdown. What that means is that in multiple rounds of voting, users of the site chose y'all over other regional slang words like toboggan, yonder, skedaddle, and ope to become this year's MVP, most valuable phrase. The Southern word's reportedly been around since the 1800s. So I guess if you don't like it, you'll have to get over it, because they're not going to toboggan again to rehash yonder throwdown this year. When grammar goes sideways, getting all janky or mad cattywampus, we just have to tell mom and them whooping suckers, don't get above your raisin. Whether you call it a soda, a pop, a Coke, or a soft drink, I ain't scared to share one with all y'all, even when I'm fixing to skedaddle. I'm Carl Azus for The World from A to Z, and you mean the world to me.